And we have Tim Johnson, Director of Strategic Alliances and Digital Ecosystems. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank
And
you
you're
for
with
having me.
Carrier. Sorry.
I'm with Carrier.
Yeah, you're with Carrier. So you and I just met, and
But it feels like I've known you a long time.
it feels like we've been friends forever. Yes, yes. Tell me a little bit about your, about yourself, about your experience. How long have you been with Carrier, and your industry expertise?
Yeah, what's interesting is I got a call kind of in the middle of COVID from a recruiter, and they said, "What do you think about Carrier?" I said, "Well, I've never really thought about Carrier unless I need an HVAC system."
Right.
But what was interesting and caught my attention, because my background historically has been more on the tech side, so working with software companies and technology companies, and I've been in the partner and alliances field for longer than I want to admit at this point. But yeah, so it was really interesting when I got the call, and what I learned was that Carrier's on this journey like a lot of large manufacturing companies, and it's going digital and applying software layers and putting down software layers so you can actually connect equipment and then deliver higher levels of value from a service perspective.
Right.
So that captured my attention, and that's what got me to Carrier.
Okay, all right. Well, Carrier, like a lot of the manufacturers, everybody knows Carrier. Carrier's been around for a very long time, but what they might not know is more on the software. You guys have software and you have hardware, but talk to me a little bit about the software side of Carrier and how you are addressing some of your customers' needs. I know sustainability is a big thing with Carrier. You're putting a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of thought into your sustainability initiatives. What is Carrier's approach and perspective on sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, like most large global companies, sustainability is a big topic, and most large companies have sustainability goals. And I think Carrier, we do. We have, for example, to be carbon neutral by 2030. So we have very ambitious goals for a large company. Along with that, over a gigaton of greenhouse gas savings is on our target by 2030. And I guess to support that, Carrier is actually recognized by Barron's as I think number 8 out of the top 100 most admirable companies around sustainability. So,
wow, okay.
So we're kind of backing that up, and we're very proud of our efforts and what we do there. And effectively, pretty much everything that Carrier is doing ultimately ladders up into a sustainability goal. Like if you think about what we do. So if you think about a piece of equipment or at the equipment level, for the most part, it's all driving towards sustainability. So if you think about electrification at the equipment level, you also think about technologies like coolants or refrigerants that goes into the equipment. How do you drive more sustainability around that?
Right.
And then on up to our software platforms. And if we drive software platforms on a couple of fronts, one, it's how do you make equipment and things more effective, more efficient, and create more operational efficiency. So all of that ultimately ladders into energy savings, sustainability, and so at the top line level, pretty much everything we're investing in from a technology perspective will go to sustainability.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know, so for here at the CoreTech and Buildings AI conference, you have some indoor air quality sensors that we've put around the rooms, and you're getting analytics from those sensors and showing those at your booth. So indoor air quality is a part of that, and that is part of the larger Abound sort of platform, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So just tell me a little bit about the Abound solution and what it stands for.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of think about three pillars in the Abound platform. You really think about that from a customer perspective. So, one is around health and wellness of the facility itself. Historically, buildings were designed to be efficient at the expense of the occupants, and buildings were actually, designed for people to be in it, office space, or what have you. And so, really, the vision around Abound is this idea of a conscious environment. So, how do you turn a building into just a building, from just a building to a conscious environment that actually adapts and is actually meant for people? And that's from a health perspective, health and wellness, so that's indoor air quality, so we'll be able to measure that. It's also from a perspective of sustainability, how is that a sustainable environment as well. And then also assets within that building, so asset performance management, so understanding what's going on with your building at a whole level, but also individual pieces of equipment and things that are within that building, being able to manage and perform that. So it's this idea of a conscious environment And so one, being able to understand and visualize what's within your four walls, and then taking that to what we call like advice. So once you can see it and understand it, how do you actually start to take action and ultimately drive towards this vision of optimize? So if a car can drive itself, why can't a building start to evolve towards being more operational efficient and adapt to the environment and the people within it on its own without having to have manual intervention?
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys deal with a lot of customers. You have a lot of customers globally. What is the, in North America, I guess probably, let's not boil the ocean, but narrow it down to North America. What are you hearing from customers about what their needs are? What are their primary objectives? What are their, what is at the top of their wish list?
I think it's kind of across those three pillars. And so it's operational efficiency, it's the health of the building, it's also like we have sustainability goals. So how do I seem to bring these things together? Sometimes they're at odds, right? So if you design a building for good air quality, that means you want to run the HVAC a lot more. Perhaps you're not as efficient as you'd like to be. So actually, how do you bring these things together and optimize across these different variables? So that's definitely one area that we're seeing from customer perspective. And then also too, especially if you have a large portfolio, so whether you're a school district or an owner of a number of buildings from a portfolio perspective, how do I understand what's happening across my portfolio of buildings? And we know that every building is different, so you can't, so you have to be able to have an agnostic approach, at least from a carrier perspective, to support, every building is different, and how do we actually ladder on top of that and provide value no matter what's there in place, and then add more value on top of that.
Right. Well, you mentioned data, and of course, data is the foundation of just about everything. It is going to drive the technology that you use in the building. It is also the foundation for AI, and of course, we've got the Buildings AI conference tomorrow. What is Carrier's what is your perspective on AI, and what role is it going to play in the built environment?
I think it's definitely going to play a role, without a doubt. I think one of the areas where we see it being more valuable, especially from a customer perspective, right now you kind of interface with your building. You go to your computer screen and you kind of see what's going on. But ultimately, why not just be able to ask a question of your building, and whether that's into your smartphone or your tablet, just ask a question and get an answer back. So I really see that evolving because the data's there. It's really this, how are you going to interface that as a human, so you actually create more of a human interaction that makes it a lot easier for people to understand their building. So I don't have to go to my laptop and look at a dashboard necessarily. I don't have to wait for an email alert. I can actually ask questions and get information back in context. That's going to be a really valuable way and efficient way for people to understand what's going on within their buildings. And you don't necessarily have to be a building engineer, right, to look at a chart and actually understand something's wrong with my piece of equipment. Just ask it a question.
Right. And experience plays a big role in that as well, really, right? Not just the owner experience and experience of the building, but the tenant experience as they're living in the building, working in the building, whatever they're doing in the building.
Definitely, that's just another interface, right? So,
right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we see that as playing a big role and a big opportunity. And then just on the AA front, just being able to leverage machine learning and things of that nature to create better data sets, so you could actually ask that type of question and get a result back.
Right. Well, we only have a couple of minutes, but just in terms of the partnership with building owners, and of course, in this event, you've got your corporate owner occupiers, you've got some commercial real estate firms, and Carrier has really, your portfolio of clients covers a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
What do you think is next? What do you see coming down the pipe? Your thoughts about what might be going on in the next 12 to 18 months?
I think there is this challenge that we hear from a lot of customers is, how do they maximize or optimize what they have? How do they get a better picture or understanding what's going on there? Whether it's, hey, we need to understand our occupancy rates. What does that look like? And ultimately, especially if you have a portfolio of buildings, how do you start to benchmark across this portfolio and get better visibility and insights into that. And so data is definitely part of that, and just getting a better perspective operationally. And then what does that look like in the future beyond the 12 to 18 months? Is still some open questions.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are planning for 2024, and probably a lot of questions about what 2024 is going to look like and how the technology is going to drive behavior. And we would love to have you back and get an update in 7 or 8 months, and maybe at the June conference we'll have another talk and figure out where we are there and how things might have changed and what it looks like going forward from June.
All right. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. It was great having you.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.